Welcome back to the 10th anniversary year of Why Blank Lost. I'm David Bloomberg, and I promise you there will be no singing in the middle of this podcast.
Damn it. I thought for sure we were doing that. Wasn't that going to be half of the episode?
No. With me, of course, is my co-host, whose voice you just heard, Jessica Lewis, who I know immediately ran out to buy the new Survivor card game, Let's Go to Rocks.
Okay.
After Jeff advertised it.
Yeah, and guess who's not in that game?
Yeah.
Me. Like, what? And the only reason I know that is because when the commercial came on, or when the advertisement, whatever it was, my daughter happened to be sitting there. And I was like, wait, what? She's like, yeah, Mom, you're not in it. I looked. I'm sorry. And I was like, what? So that's what she's telling me. But it would seem odd that I'm not in the Let's Go to Rocks game from Survivor. I don't know. There's only 3 of us that have ever been rocked out. Maybe we should get a mention. But that's okay. I am in his book. I'm in his book twice. I will say that.
Okay.
So
okay.
I will thank you for that. At least I've been acknowledged in that regard.
Well, I don't think I'm in his book, and I don't know about our special returning guest, who I presume also, in addition to answering our question about the book in a moment here, I presume he brought us some fish that he speared himself to share with us on the podcast. It's Chappell.
Yeah, I'm just a really big fan who really, really wanted to be here. And I've been trying to get here. And people were like, you should get on that show. And I was like, I can't do that. So I'm just going to show up and make this whole entire episode about me. I got 28 minutes to just make this about me. Let's do it.
What a great plan. It's like I've never seen anyone do that before. So crazy.
It's brand new. I have so many questions about that, but I don't want to derail this before we get started. Thank y'all for having me.
Well, in fact, people should know, you have been on before, unlike that other guy.
Yes.
So I also want to mention, I don't know how I have been forgetting to add this when I introduced the podcast, but in addition to it being our 10th anniversary year of the podcast, it is also the 25th anniversary of Why Blank Lost overall, which I began as a column on my website for Survivor, the Australian Outback. So
wow,
I keep forgetting that part.
Look at you.
You know a little bit about Survivor. Right, exactly. But I've met Jessica Lewis, so I kind of know more than you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Also, I've met Jeff, so there's that.
Ooh, you've met Jeff. So David, I'm sorry, you might be the least qualified person on the podcast.
Oh man, but I've met you,
not enough.
So don't I gain that? Through
you
that.
Did meet me. You did meet me.
Again,
this episode is all about me. Okay, we're about to make this about me, and then we'll spend 15 minutes at the end, and maybe at the beginning talking about everything else.
Okay.
It's all about Chappell. That's it.
Yes.
It's all about Chappell. Yeah.
Well, going into this episode, before we talk about Chappell, I thought for sure it had to be one particular person going home, the one I predicted last week. And the sneak peek from the first few minutes of the episode even seemed to confirm it for me. I never even had the slightest thought it could be Mike White. It was a true blindside, not just to Mike, but to all of us when that happened.
Yeah, I think it was. And it was sad because he was very entertaining. Very entertaining.
Much more entertaining than someone else who took up like a half hour. So,
I mean, that's debatable, depending on, which international fan of country music you ask. But I have thoughts about that boot and Mike White. I was shocked too that it was Mike White. But I wasn't shocked that it wasn't that woman that David is alluding to. Let me talk to you, Jessica, okay? Because I know David want to opt out of this conversation.
Sure.
So just on the numbers, right? It's a 6-person tribe. You got Mike, Angelina, and Christian, the David versus Goliath alliance. And then you got the other people who are not a part of that alliance, right? Emily, Ozzy, and Stephanie. I didn't think there was any reason why Emily or Ozzy would be motivated to vote out Stephanie. Why would you want to give the David versus Goliath people
already jumping to Appendix A. We haven't even started
please yet. I'm just talking to Jessica about that lady you don't want to talk about. So for me, Jessica, to me, it just felt like just coming in based off of that, unless you were just going to fold your position and immediately give up the numbers, whatever little numbers that you have, there was no way she was going here. That's how I felt.
Well, and I don't disagree with that, but I do think that there was a focus on a different one of the David versus Goliath, and that was Angelina. Like Ozzy was all about that. Like, yeah, I think Ozzy wanted to keep the numbers, but he also wanted to keep Mike White, and he did want to get rid of one of the David versus Goliath, just a different one. So I completely understand that. Of course, it's to Emily's benefit to do whatever she needs to do in order to keep Christian happy, because she's working with Christian, and also she wants to keep Ozzy happy. And so all of that makes perfect sense as far as the numbers are concerned for them. And when you're the odd man out, which it seems like Stephanie is the low man on the totem pole, really, that like, where else is she going to go? Sure, anybody but me, right? So I could see that being the reason. But yes, I agree.
I have thoughts that will oppose, at least oppose Chappell.
Listen, isn't this about Chappell right now? Isn't this
it's about me?
Chappell?
We'll save that other talk for Appendix A.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
He can change up the order if he wants. This is his segment.
If I start singing or rapping, just boot me off the episode, David. You know how to do it.
I do, but you know how to get back on, so that won't help.
I do. I'm not going anywhere, baby.
All right. Well, Sam Phelan was on the recap after the episode with Rob and wisely said that most people who leave Survivor have an idea of why they lost, and it's usually wrong. I completely agree. It's something we say here all the time. And as a matter of fact, that's why we're here. So to figure it out for Mike, we will address it the same way we always do, even for a big star, by comparing how he played the game to a set of guiding rules for winning I originally wrote way back after season 1 and have been updating ever since. We use all the non-spoiler information available to us from what we saw on TV, interviews, social media, and secret scenes. The newest published version of the rules can be found at robhasawebsite.com/yxlostfeed, where you can click on the link bubble for the Survivor rules. But I have been adding notes to it. I added one, not the online version. Sorry, just my own personal notes. Those are harder to come by. But in the future, they will be out there. But I added last week. I added something this week. So, it just keeps growing.
It does. It's 48 pages at this point, at least.
Hey, and you have no idea how much I cut it down from the original version when I transferred it from the web to here. So
it's a great read. It's a great read, but there's a shorter version, right? We're going to talk about that too.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Now, as always, we do have a few other things we want to discuss before we address how Mike did in terms of the rules. And I did want to ask you, Chappell, those of us who listened to last week's Club Condo, which should obviously be everyone, we know how you felt about Jeff rapping. How does that compare to your feelings about so much Zac Brown this week?
Ooh, that's tough because I hated Jeff rapping. Like I said, I said it was a microaggression. And I stand on that. I don't understand why this happened with Zac Brown. I don't get it. The idea that we have these hour-and-a-half episodes. I remember way back when they told us we were getting these. I said, I don't trust it. I said, all we're going to do is just make the challenges longer, and it's going to piss me off because there's going to be people getting no confessionals, and we're going to spend so much time on things that don't matter. And there have been times where I've been right, there have been times when I've been wrong, but this time I'm firmly I was on the right side of history. We did not need to extend these episodes, especially if we're going to do something like this. Zac Brown was basically the subject of the show from 11 minutes and 29 seconds into the episode until 40 minutes and 4 seconds in the episode. That's including the challenge, that gets to Zac Brown, but it's all in the little Zac Brown package, right? From the moment he shows up, literally 29 minutes of our hour-and-a-half show. And it's frustrating because we got these big characters back. They are brought here because they are characters. There's really no other through line to tie all these people together. They're not all returnees. Like 5-time returnees. They're not all winners. They're all big characters. How we walk away from this episode without getting a Sari confessional, but we got 29 minutes of Zac Brown, that stuff will never make sense to me. So although I hated Jeff rapping, I ain't eat this either.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, in case you didn't get enough Zac Brown, the bonus secret scene on YouTube, more Zac Brown.
Zac Brown. If you haven't had enough, there's more.
So I have a question specifically about Zac Brown's participation in this. Y'all mind coming with me on a journey?
Sure.
It is the show, remember?
It is. So I came here with visual aids as well. Get into this. I have found this article, and I don't know if y'all remember this, but Jeff Probst hinted at a celebrity player applying for Survivor way back in November of 2024. He said it was a big international star, and I have to wonder, was he talking about Zac Brown this whole time? Is this who this was about?
Interesting. Look at you digging up the dirt here.
It says we have someone applying for 49 who's very accomplished and known around the world. And I believe he referred to Zac Brown as an international star or something like that. And so, this article obviously talks about how he's not the first celebrity to want to play Survivor and all this other stuff. But yeah, I had completely forgotten about that. And then one of my friends sent it to me like, hey, was this who they were talking about? And I kind of have to think that it is. We haven't heard about anybody else who's popped up on the show and gotten so much screen time. Do you think this could be just a way of them pacifying him because they won't let him play?
Well, they let him go spearfishing, but with a very fancy spear. Like,
oh my God,
not what Ozzy had to go in the water with.
Right. No. We got some cool shots, but it doesn't. This feels like Zac Brown's kind of like a Make-A-Wish kid for Survivor.
Some of the players thought that it was Make-A-Wish.
Yes.
You saw the looks on their faces.
She about teared up.
Yeah. And then meanwhile, Devins thought it was Sia. And, where is Sia? That's the real question here.
I can't see her.
She stops donating and all of a sudden she's persona non grata. Come on.
Apparently.
And they advertised Zac's wine and apparently his speaker brand, and I don't know.
Yeah, it was a big advertisement
tour coming out. I don't know. Now I will say I posted a video related to this, and I had a lot of people say, "Well, I liked it. It was something different. Stop complaining. No. Everybody needs to stop complaining." Now, mostly those things were on Facebook, so but yeah, look. If you like Zac Brown, if you're a fan of Zac Brown, fine. Normally I will argue with people when they try to contradict me in these. It's an opinion. Okay. There's literally nothing to argue about there. If you like Zac Brown, you like that segment. And I did see something saying the ratings for this episode were highest so far this season.
No, they were the lowest.
No. IMDb ratings were the lowest ever. The actual television ratings.
Well, that's because the season has been good thus far. So people are watching, and then people are like, what? Now I'm watching the Zac Brown show.
Yeah.
And I will say, as someone who actually was out there and part of a season, there's a lot to be said about when you do actually see the episode, because you know what happened when you're out there, right? And you know what they are showing, what they aren't showing. And it can be very frustrating as a player when you're like, well, why didn't they show that one conversation? They didn't show this thing that happened over there, and this was really neat, and they didn't show that. And so I really feel like you're doing a disservice to the players, because this show is really about the players. It's not about the spectacle that you can make when you bring a Zac Brown and it turns into a personal concert and a sale for wine. Like, this is not what it should be. It should be about the players. And I just feel like it's really treating them poorly when you take away so much time. Like you said, like the lack of confessionals. He had 4 confessionals, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Like, and there were players who didn't get a confessional, and there are players who've only had like 4 all season.
No. Tiffany has only had 2 all season.
2.
This was the topic of my video. Exactly.
Oh, wow.
She's had 2 all season. Zac Brown had double the confessionals in 1 episode as Tiffany has all season long. And so thanks to Survivor Fact Checker for getting that information out there. And so, that was exactly the point I made in the video, which a lot of the people missed when they said, oh, well, I like the segment. You can like Zac Brown. That's fine. Make it all bonus scenes then. Make all of that bonus scenes. And I'm sure it was fun for some, or maybe even all of the players who were there, who got to go on the reward. They got to eat a lot and everything else. But just because it's fun for them doesn't make it fun for us to watch. And when you're not seeing these players talk about what's happening, like, we don't even know. And we'll talk about this in the predictions part. We know Tiffany is with Aubrey. We don't even know if the rest of the tribe knows that Tiffany is with Aubrey. We have no
Mhm.
idea where she
Mhm.
stands in the tribe overall. None.
Right. Right.
And so, next week could be a big surprise. We don't know. And so anyway, I really did not intend to talk about Zac Brown this much. But
How could
It
you not?
I,
We
I-
had
so-
to. It was
I
29
wanted to
minutes of the
pretend-
episode.
Well, I wanted to pretend that part of the episode. Rob posted on Chat BCC, it was a donut episode. And I believe what he meant is it had a big hole in the middle. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm misinterpreting, but that's my interpretation of what Rob meant when he said that.
Just
It's a do not episode. That's what it is.
don't do that again. Just when you played, well, how would you have felt if this was your reward though? Like, obviously not a great TV, challenge for us
Right.
Mhm.
at home. But if this was one of the rewards that you had won, how would you have felt? Did you think this had any merit as an award?
I honestly would say no, because I don't know who Zac Brown is. I know who he is now because I watched 29 minutes of him on Survivor. But if someone had said Zac Brown's here, I'd been like, who is that?
Yeah.
I don't. But then it's like, okay, food. Food
Right.
would have been very exciting.
Fish.
I didn't get any rewards. I was very hungry. There was no rewards for Jessica, but the food was really significant with whatever the offerings were. And I feel like it would have been kind of disappointing to be like, and your reward is fish.
Mm.
Congratulations. The thing that you've actually been eating, because some people are able to catch fish, we're just going to serve you a bigger fish and it will have mango salsa and it will be delicious. Now, that probably tasted great, but I would have preferred like a big fat hamburger or something at that point, So it was an
You and
interesting
Liz.
choice.
Yes.
It was an interesting choice. But I think when you're out there, because you're so removed from everything and you have a tendency to kind of forget that you're surrounded by cameras and that all of these things are going on, that you can get kind of swept up in like what's happening. And so it probably would have been exciting, but it also would have been more exciting because I'm hungry and I would like to eat. And I think that's really what it would have boiled down to.
Yeah. I wonder if
I
it's
do like wine. I do like wine. So
I do like
there's
wine.
that.
I wonder if there's like some type of matrix that you can follow to where it's like, depending on the celebrity, you're more okay with this, right? Like, it's like Zac Brown, you don't really know it, but is there somebody who, if they were there, you're like, oh my God, like Beyonce, like, you know what I'm saying? Like how, because
listen, if Maynard had walked out, I would have been all
like,
over
I'm in
the
it.
place. I'm like,
Right,
I'm done. Like I don't need to go back to that. I'm just gonna hang out with him wherever he is, whatever he's doing. I'll finish the game right now. I'm just gonna hang out with Maynard. That would have been sick. But that's me. So I can understand entirely that it probably is more of a, are you a fan or not a fan? So I'm sure that has an effect.
Yeah. And just to be clear, because I know someone is already getting ready to type this on YouTube if they haven't already. We know he was technically only on screen in the reward for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
The half hour we're referring to is what Chappell mentioned earlier. Just the
whole right.
The whole thing involving him from the moment he walked out through the challenge and everything else.
Yeah.
So we know it's 10 minutes.
The challenge was insane.
A lot longer. So like I said, I really did not intend to talk about this other than to make fun of it and then move on. But I'm going to try not to mention it anymore today.
Cool.
But I do want to say one thing. At least that time wasn't filled with a stupid journey where people lose their votes for no good reason.
Well,
we got to
there's
look
that
on the
too.
bright side, a small little bright side.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, I kind of take the journey. Look, at least in the journey, we see the competitors talk.
That's
true. Like this time they were talking about Zac Brown. We got a lot of D talking about how great this guy is.
And we got a lot of Coach with his. I mean, obviously they picked him because he was the most flowery of the of the compliments. And he was just in his element there.
That's what he does.
Yes,
he did the same thing with the movie that they watched. That one,
right?
Oh my God, yeah.
Yes.
That terrible movie. This is the greatest. Okay. Yeah. He's very complimentary and that's great. That's why we love Coach, because he's just, just a good guy like that.
All right. Well, let's move on to the other guy spearfishing this episode. That would be Ozzy, because all he could focus on was getting rid of Angelina so he could be Mike's number one. Now, first, while that may have worked from time to time in the past, I actually posted about this on social media in a couple places, and some people did have answers that I did not specifically remember. but those were people who were better players. So do we really think Ozzy could have pulled this off here? Like, he gets rid of Mike's not just ally, but good friend. And suddenly he becomes the tightest ally. I just don't think Mike would have seen it that way.
Yeah, but I think he's got an Emily that he could have blamed for that too, though.
Yeah. And
They don't.
And where's Mike going to go?
Well, that's true too.
I mean, Mike had Christian there too.
But Christian would have been betraying him in that moment too. The door is open for somebody to go become friends with Ozzy. I mean, with Mike White in that moment. I don't think it's that bad. Like you said, probably a more talented player probably can pull that off. But I think at that point, you just sent out one of his closest allies, but one of his good friends. I think he's going to be looking for somebody to work with at that point. I mean, who else? He's a David versus Goliath person. His entire alliance at that point has fallen apart. You know, so I don't know. I don't think it's that far fetched, David.
Okay, I don't know. I don't know, but
well,
it didn't matter.
I do want to add though too, though I think that because Ozzy is such a non-threatening player in that regard, that it probably would have been easier for him to make nice with Mike, because that's why Emily is the one that he could really. Well, Emily's the one who's talking about it, and like she's the scary one. Not, like, who am I? I'm just Ozzy. I'm gonna go fish now, you know. So I feel like there would have been an ability for him to downplay his role in it and really blame Emily, and it probably would have resonated with Mike.
I feel like the two of you have put more thought into this than Ozzy did in his entire time. I feel like Ozzy just said, if I get rid of his friend, then I have to be his friend. It's obvious. Whereas
we would know that had we not spent so much time with Zac Brown. You know, you know, to be fair, not to bring him up again.
To be fair, I don't know that that's true, because the thing is, once Ozzy thought he knew what was happening, he went off fishing. I mean,
I'm just saying we might know his point of view. You know, we don't get anybody's.
I think he would have still just gone off fishing, and
he was doing what he does so well, and that's
right. It completely Ozzy cliche.
Yes,
all the scheming and plotting and strategizing is going on. Ozzy is fishing. This is exactly what he said he was not going to do, but. I have pointed out before, when I have interviewed Ozzy in the past, he said that same thing, and then he did it again. Almost 20 years ago, after Cook Islands, he told me I probably screwed up a bit in my strategy and that I didn't do enough politicking and did too much fishing.
Yeah.
That's what he told me 20 years ago.
He told you that 20 years ago, but he's done better this season.
Until now.
Okay, but everyone's
people
going to have
up.
a setback now and again. Right, like it happens. So he was in a moment where he was like, what am I going to do? I'm going to go fishing, because Zac Brown's fishing and he's feeding them. So I'm going to feed my people.
Missed it.
Yeah.
The morale is low, David. This is a social move. The morale is low. He saw everybody else. He knows Zac Brown's got his bazooka underwater and he's catching all these fish. I was like, I can catch fish too. You know, I can feed my tribe. David, don't be so hard on Ozzy.
The fancy
But then for him to get mad that he wasn't included, maybe if you had stuck around.
That's true. I agree with that.
That is fair. That's true.
That was fascinating to me. You know, him saying to Mike White, and I think that might have been a Frankenbite, because there's no way you can force me to believe that Ozzy looked at Mike White and said, I want to vote out Angelina, and then went and got into the water. You know, that's so crazy to me to think that he would say, I want to take out your real friend in real life. All right, y'all go gather amongst yourselves. I'm going to go swim.
I don't think it was a Frankenbite.
I see his mouth. I see his mouth move, David. I need to look at the clip a little bit closer, because it did look like that. He's like, no, we're voting out Angelina. And then 5 seconds later, well, you have at it, Mike. Good luck. You know, what are you talking about? You don't leave. You at that point, you need to be glued to Mike White.
I mean, Mike said, okay, I'm open to anything. I mean, we'll talk about that later, but you know,
but also look at what Mike did when he approached, he like told the person that he was going to vote out. That would, like, Mike was very much in your face, like, this is what I'm doing. So maybe Ozzy was like, well, I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm just going to tell, this is what we're doing. I'm going fishing now. You know, like, that's it.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, Mike White was lying. Remember when he said it? He actually was like, oh, he actually didn't tell the person. We thought he told the person, because he really was going to go.
That moment he did it, I was like, oh God, that's painful. And then he was like, that's not what we're doing.
I think we all gasped when he did it.
Right. Ozzy's not at that level. We know that much. So Ozzy was like, I'm just going to tell him what we're doing, and then I'm going to go fishing because that's what Ozzy was really going to do.
Yeah. So, well, on a lighter note, I think production messed up a bit and did not realize that when
Zac Brown wasn't on the show.
Yeah, this is a different music issue. When Devins was juggling, and I say juggling loosely as a juggler, I can say that. He was going da da da, and I won't do the rest of it because he was singing the Star Wars Cantina song. Okay.
Oh,
that is copyright. That is an actual song. He wasn't just like singing random circus music.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I recognized it immediately because when Star Wars came out, when I was a kid, we had the soundtrack album. I played it constantly. Me and my brothers would dance to that song. Well, run around and do somersaults and stuff, but dance. And so it is ingrained in my mind. The moment he started it, I knew what it was, but apparently nobody at CBS did because there's no way they were paying for the rights to use that.
Listen, I will say again, as someone who might have played the game, if you ever really wanted to frustrate the cameramen and women and the production team and whoever was watching you, just start singing a song. You could literally watch them. They would drop the cameras and they would just be like, because they knew they're like, we're never going to be able to pay the rights for this particular. So we would do it on purpose. You would just start singing a song just because then they would stop like filming you. It was quite fun. So it is fascinating. They didn't pick up on that because usually they pay attention.
I think they just didn't know. I think they
probably didn't catch it.
It was some random circus type music or something.
That's hysterical.
So.
It feels like a deep pool though. Like I mean, I don't see a lot of people talking about recognizing it, David. You got a good ear for one, and two, like these production people, they only know what they know, right? There's so many songs out there. There's like, oh yeah, that's the one song from this one movie that I watched in the background of the soundtrack of that movie. It's like you have to have the very specific knowledge of that. Because I like what is I highly doubt they kind of go back and like check all that stuff, right? Like it has to be. I think it has to stand out. And like you said, Devin just got it through now. David, now that you've called it out. Does it now, like, are people going to now talk about it more? Is that going to draw it to their attention? Next time you go watch it, it's going to be a different song.
Yeah.
No. Ooh, yes, it's going to go like,
they're gonna,
oh gosh, it'll be one of the, what do they call those effects? When it's like, it's not the Berenstain Bears, it's the Berenstain Bears.
It's Mandela effect, right?
It's the Mandela. It will be the Mandela effect. It will no longer be that
swear.
song.
Yeah, you're gonna be like, I swear he did it. We're like, sure, David, sure, whatever you say.
David. We went back and we looked at it. It's not there anymore.
Sorry,
this is gonna happen.
I think they're just gonna deduct it from Devin's check eventually.
From his $1 million. Okay.
Well,
he got
Devins.
it.
Devins will know if that's what he did. We should ask Devin.
I already know. So,
well, but I'm just saying, if the Mandela effect happens.
Oh yes,
right. He's the proof.
Like, no, listen.
Yes,
that's what I actually did.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, normally now I would go into our semi-regular segment. The CBS Mornings crew is wrong about blank, but they were so busy fawning over Mike White that they didn't even leave themselves time to be factually wrong, except for the fact that Gayle King kept interrupting Mike as he was trying to tell stories. Like, come on. You have master storyteller Mike White on your show, and you interrupt him to ask some stupid, pre-written intern question. Stop it. Let the man talk.
Well, he got interrupted at tribal council.
I know.
Yeah, if Christian can do it, Gayle King can't do it.
Well, and Jeff yelled at him.
Jeff wasn't there to yell at Gayle King. She can do what she wants. She's Gayle King.
David's like, I got it. Yeah. Oh, what question did she ask him? What she interrupt him? Do you know?
The questions were so vapid that I didn't even pay attention. What he was going to talk about, which I don't remember, was more interesting than whatever question she asked.
Okay. Interesting. I wonder if he has been talking about his game openly on other interviews or if he's been just talking about what he wants to.
Pretty much just talking about what he wants.
So maybe they would have got a good story out of him anyway.
Yeah. But still, it would have been an interesting story.
Yeah,
sure.
Which is
that's true.
Still better than, anything that Gayle King is going to ask.
Fascinating. All right.
Well, unless either of you two have anything else you want to discuss before we move into the rules, I think we can, before we go on to talk about how Mike did, we do have to mention something that Jessica already brought up, which is that the rules we're about to discuss
Oh,
are
yes.
available in a shorter and
In a
much
poster.
colorful version in
Mhm.
poster form. You can go to robhasawebsite.com/yxlostfeed, scroll down to the poster, click on it, and order.
That's
In
right.
addition, you can also get the poster on a t-shirt,
Mhm.
and you can get the checklist on a t-shirt. Just keep on scrolling, keep on clicking, keep on ordering. So
That's right.
again, that is at robhasawebsite.com/yxlostfeed to get all of those links.
Perfect.
All right. Well, Mike White thought he was in a perfect position. Literally, all of his friends from outside the game ended up on the same swap tribe with him. You could not ask for more. And yet, here we are. Where did he go against what he said in the pregame he wouldn't do? What did he do to trigger someone else's pregame plans? And what does Mike think his mistake was that led to his game demise? And is he right? At RHAP, we know Survivor, and we know why Mike lost. Now, the first and most important rule is, of course, to scheme and plot. Mike certainly understood this and even reveled in it this week, talking about being the Machiavellian puppet master, among other things. And it's funny because the earlier versions of my rules used to even specifically mention Machiavelli in there and encourage people to be more like him.
Mm.
But most of Mike's type of scheming was in the area he's most well known for, which is storytelling. He even told Mike Bloom in the pregame that one of his best areas in the game was, quote, being able to see people in their narrative and be able to articulate that and kind of get in people's heads about who might be a threat or what's an interesting story. Indeed, this specific idea had apparently been running through Christian's head for years now, but he kept it to himself for all that time so he could be ready to use it. And he told Mike Bloom in the pregame, the reason I was a giant threat was because I was a narrative threat. Who set that threat? Freaking Mike White, the king of narratives. I want to steal his power this season. And unlike most pregame plans, this one actually worked.
Yeah, and it's a little bit scary, right? Because it was so premeditated. It was like very, very it was a choice. It was definitely a choice for a lot of reasons, both in game and outside of game. And so it was fascinating to see that they did all end up on this tribe and he was given the opportunity to put into motion what he wanted to do so long ago. It's a little scary.
Yeah, I think Millennials versus Gen X is one of those good examples of how a narrative can really shape how somebody is looked at in the game. And I'm not talking about Adam. I'm talking about David Wright. You know, the idea that you got to get out David or he's going to win makes David more of a threat, right? It's like the story of David has now become bigger than David. Is David actually doing anything at this point, or is he just a part of a big alliance? You know, but we've already decided that he's the kingmaker. If we can take out David, then we win the game. And so that becomes the driving force. This is why people are looking at Ken crazy when he doesn't want to do it, you know? And so I think that, yeah, that's a very good observation. And the crazy thing about it is that Christian has that observation. Mike White's operating under that observation. And so when Mike White goes to use that tool against Christian, Christian's like, yeah, I know that trick because that's the trick I've been trying to pull. And so when he hears it, the narrative speaks to Christian. He's crying on the beach talking about how, you know, oh, the Gabby thing really made sense to him. And because of that, I now have to vote you out because I see that you're doing the same thing I want to do. It was poetic. It really was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I do want to say, you mentioned Millennials versus Gen X. I think the narrative, I mean, I think you could say it in a lot of seasons, but it also worked against a certain Jessica because, like, oh, hey, Jessica says, let's everybody get together and vote out this guy. And everybody's like, yes, let's do that. And then after he's voted out, the narrative turns to, oh, that's all Jessica's fault.
It was all me.
Yes,
And
good.
it was
Yes,
like,
so good.
wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a group effort over here. We all did it together. Yeah, it is fascinating to see how quickly you can shift the target onto someone just by dropping those little nuggets of information, which Mike was very, very good at. He was, and he did it fantastically in his last season because he was just kind of like that silent assassin over in the corner, just kind of telling people things to make them think about it. And so you don't see that as someone who's a threat because they're just having conversations with you. They're just talking about things. They're making you feel something. And that's what I think makes Mike so good is he's able to make you feel. And the minute he did drop Gabby's name, ooh, that was a moment. And so when you start bringing up people's prior experiences that, to be completely honest, could have been very traumatic. When you play Survivor, sometimes things happen and they can have a traumatic effect on you long term. And that's something that we saw Christian actually, he started crying and he said, I haven't cried about this yet. And this is the first time I'm crying about it. So clearly that had a huge effect on him. And the fact that Mike was able to bring that out of him just shows you why Mike White is who he is, because he's able to find those things and really make people feel a particular way. And unfortunately, it had the opposite effect that he wanted it to have on Christian.
Yeah, I want to go briefly through how it all happened. I mean, I know we all saw it, but it started when Christian and Mike told Ozzy they were down for whatever. We mentioned this earlier. And Ozzy said, it'll be Angelina. And Mike was like, okay, but I'm going to try to talk you out of it. Mm-hmm. And so it was clear he wasn't really down for whatever, except as you indicated earlier, Chappell, it wasn't clear to Ozzy, who just went off fishing. So that attempt didn't work. So he started Operation Save Angelina. And, you know, he got the other woman on board to target Emily as a threat. And then he told Angelina she was a target and added to her and Christian that they should target Emily. And this is where things started to go sideways for him, which I think we'll talk about more in the second rule. But Christian was like, as we go to commercial break, if only there were some other way. And then through the commercial, so many of us were yelling at our screens, there is another way. There is an obvious choice. Q's ally, the outlier from the group. But no, that wasn't the way it went. He did not go in that direction. And that's when Mike realized, well, Christian really isn't good with this plan. So I'm going to bring up Gabby. I'm going to manipulate him. And that's when he talked to us about being the puppet master and how the game is about persuading people to do what you want. And Christian said it. Mike's terrifying when he wants you to do something. He's so convincing. He knows where to hit you. Mike is the most dangerous person on this or any other island.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Yeah.
You want to talk about narratives? Christian voted for Mike the first time they played together because he said Mike was transcendent then. So you want to bring up narratives and, you know, you want to talk about, so Mike White bringing up their old game. Yeah, sure. Get Christian thinking about what happened last time. Why were people so hell-bent on getting Christian out? Because Mike White's over there spinning webs the whole time. Yes. And then he gets to the end and he even votes for Mike White. So yeah, it was crazy. But I think Mike White kind of does the same thing that Ozzy does. He says, I want it to be Emily to Christian. Christian's like, I'm working with Emily. If you know, this is your real friend in real life. You should know that Christian and Emily have a relationship outside the game. So he won't go for this. Mike, seeing that, decides, well, I'm just going to manipulate you because I'm Machiavellian. You know, like I just got it like that. Okay, well now you get to see how strong your powers really are, and they just weren't strong enough.
And I think this is where it kind of there's an overlap with rules 1 and 2 here because you know this was a failed attempt at scheming. Because it seemed like Mike had this big weapon he was holding on to, and he was saving it to use at a crucial time. And then, bam, he did it now to try to persuade Christian to take out Emily. And I do understand how it made sense to him at this moment, because he wanted to separate Emily from Christian. Using the Gabby story would only work in this specific situation. Oh, look, you have another nerd girl here with you, and she's going to turn into another Gabby. But a big problem is Christian knows who actually got him voted out last time. Gabby did not succeed. Mike did. So when we move into the second rule, which of course says not to scheme and plot too much and to keep your scheming secret, and also not to backstab too soon, and I guess I should add in this case, not to stab in the heart too soon. I know he wasn't actually going after Christian, but he was trying to take away a tight ally and hitting him where it really hurt to do it. And this is, you know, I said it earlier, Mike landed on a swap tribe that seemed to be a dream. He had literally everyone he knew from the outside in a single tribe. This should have been Survivor on easy mode for him.
Yeah, but he did talk about that, though. He talked about why it wasn't.
Well, and he made it harder for himself.
Right.
You know, by trying to take aim at Emily right this moment, rather than letting things flow a bit. Again, I'm going back to take out the other easy target. Even with him believing Emily to be a threat, he did not need to make this move right this moment. There
I
was
think
something else he could have done.
there was, but I think the problem that he was up against was Angelina has been the desired vote multiple times, right? So it's not like this was new, like a new idea. Ozzy wanted her to go last time, and he bargained and switched it up and was promised Angelina can go next time. So in Ozzy's mind, well, it's Angelina. We don't even
Right.
have to talk about it. I'm going fishing, right? Like it's decision made. And so I do think that it puts Mike in an interesting situation, because if he has to convince them to, well, I want it to come off of Angelina, it needs to be on someone else. And he could have done it without telling Christian. He still could have gotten enough votes for Emily without having to include Christian. And so if he really wanted to target Emily, which I understand why he wanted to target her, because we've seen what Emily has been doing and we could see how she would be a threat to Mike. But yes, bringing in Christian was the problematic thing to do. So he should have avoided that altogether. I think that would have been the easier thing to do, as opposed to trying to shift the votes towards Stephanie, just for the mere fact that it's like, to convince Ozzy not to vote Angelina has to make sense. And I don't know, Emily wouldn't have made sense.
That's the thing. He didn't need to. All he had to do was get his fellow David and Goliaths on board. Those three. Do you think Emily and Ozzy are going to rocks for her?
Well, and that's true too. Mm-hmm.
He just needed to. Also, he could have done a 3-2-1. Mm-hmm. He could have done the same thing. We saw how easily she was manipulated. All you had to do was walk up to her and say, we're voting this way. If he had done it and Angelina had done it and said, we're voting off Emily, she would have been like, okay, there would have been 1 vote for Emily, 2 votes for Angelina, and 3 votes for her.
Yeah, that's
true. They didn't need to convince Ozzy and Emily. He never needed to even worry about that.
That's true.
You know, I was fascinated with Christian's target, actually. I was thinking that Christian was going to 3-2-1 Ozzy out. Well, I don't know why he saved Ozzy in this moment. You know, Emily obviously is very loyal to Ozzy, to the point where you can't even tell her nothing and she's going to run back and tell Ozzy. I mean, that moment was, I mean, we see Emily now 2 weeks in a row, basically just, you can't tell her anything. But so, you know, she's got this, like this tie to Ozzy. You know, in a way, Mike White is tied to Ozzy. You can weaken Mike White by just putting the 3-2-1 on Ozzy. You know, get Ozzy out of the game. Emily, where is she going to go? And then you still get to keep your tight 3 David versus Goliath alliance together. And at the bottom, you have Emily and Stephanie. What are they going to do? So I thought that's where he was going. I was shocked that it was Mike White that ended up taking this bullet.
Yeah, I think we'll have more to talk about with in Rule 6 about why it was specifically Mike. But a lot of it, you know, even here is in terms of, you know, Mike, and you brought this up too, Mike reminding Christian of who he was, and bringing up, I mentioned in Rule 1 that him bringing up Emily was where things started going sideways with him. He had only been with Christian on the swap tribe for like 2 days. But like you said, he should have been able to figure out Emily was a close ally. And in fact, he must have known that, because he tried to use it against Christian, but he did it anyway, because like you said, what was it you said? Yes, I know she's close, but I'm going to be the one who manipulates you anyway. Yeah, exactly. And so he just thought he could overcome that. And maybe the one thing he may not have realized was that they're not just allies in the game, they're friends outside the game. I don't know if Mike knew that part.
The problem with that is that Mike probably thought, well, Christian and I are also friends outside the game. So surely if he does have to make a move, okay, he might not love this, but he'll take out somebody who he's not friends with outside the game, like Ozzy, like Stephanie. No. He said, we're friends outside the game, and I don't want to play with you anymore. And that's the part that Mike underestimated.
Yeah. And I think it's, you know, I would guess, based on what we've heard since then and what we've seen, I think he's probably much closer. I mean, even before this, he was much closer with Emily as a friend than with Mike.
I don't know. Mike had him on the White Lotus. If I put you on the White Lotus, you got to kind of ride or die with me to the end. I mean, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And he made a comment. Like, they went on vacation together or something?
Right. They were in Thailand.
He made a comment, and I don't know if this was him being downplaying it or if it was real. He said, if you look, I'm all the way in the back. I just happened to be traveling nearby at the time. So they threw me in. Angelina and whoever else was in it were up in the front.
They threw you in a HBO series and gave you screen time?
Yeah. So, I mean.
Yeah, no.
Even when he saw, the thing is, even when he saw that there were signs that Christian wasn't being fully honest with him in certain areas, he told Mike Bloom he dismissed them as Christian just hamming it up for the cameras. And he said, at the core of it, I was just like, he's not going to come for me. I just felt so safe. And he could have been that safe if he hadn't launched his campaign against Emily.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is what happens when pregame affects in-game, because you think that you have a relationship with someone and you think that this person's going to be with you through thick and thin until that person starts realizing, you're stepping on my game now. And this is a game for $1 million that maybe Mike White doesn't need $1 million, but maybe somebody else might need $1 million. So it certainly shifts your perception of another person, because it's no longer outside of the game friendship. Now it can certainly have an impact. And I think we even saw it have an impact on Mike, because Mike said pregame, I am not going to blow up my own game for Angelina. If her ship is sinking,
notes? Are you reading? That was exactly the point I was going to bring up next.
But that's what he talked about. He's like,
I know.
Yes. And so it's fascinating that he decided, oh, Angelina's ship is sinking. Well, I need to start bailing out for her, and I need to start saving her to my own demise. I mean, because he could have just let it be and been like, well, that sucks for Angelina, but I'm staying in the game. And that's not the approach he took. So this is outside stuff affecting in-game stuff.
Yeah, only his ship went down. Hers is still sailing for the moment.
For the moment.
Yeah.
For the moment.
I think they're both going to be under the water together.
All right. Well, the third rule tells players to be flexible. And after discussing some of the things that Mike did and the reasons he did them, Chappell, what do you think about him in terms of this rule?
I definitely don't think he was flexible with this Angelina thing, right? Like that's the whole thing y'all were just saying, is that preseason he says, I'm not going down for Angelina, but in practice that's harder to do. This is still your friend. This is still somebody that y'all, they're good friends. The rest of these people can say, oh, we know each other from Survivor stuff and we've seen each other here and there. They are good friends. She's like, that's gonna. I think Lindsay was talking about it in y'all's first recap, where there's people from her season that she's like, no, I'll speak at their funeral. You know what I'm saying? Or they'll speak at mine.
Right.
You know, that's a different type of friendship. So yeah, you get out there and you're like, oh yeah, we're cool. And I feel like, Christian and Mike probably were decently friendly, right? Mike, but as close friends as you can be with a Hollywood celebrity, while you got your own stuff going on. Whereas Angelina and Mike, they played that entire game together. They were bonded by their time on the island. And then they went off and became friends even more. And then it spiraled into what it's probably a lifelong friendship. So yeah, saying that now is cool or whatever. But when you got to actually make the cut, we're all like, you got to cut your Camilla if she could just get Kyle out the game, like that. Okay. Some of this stuff is kind of a little far-fetched, whereas you would hope that somebody has that speed, but it's probably a lot harder when faced with those actual moments. Right. And so Mike's like, yeah, Christian and I are friends. And although he could get me out, he's probably not going to, because we're friends. And I'm going to go to bat for Angelina because she's my friend. And I'd rather not play the game without her, and that's really what it looked like to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did say that too. He's like, if it comes down to Christian, Angelina, Ozzy, or me, I might just exit myself. I mean, so he was very aware of how significant those relationships were to him.
Right. Yeah. I agree. I'm having a difficult time thinking of him as flexible. Again, one thing that I keep mentioning, there was another person who could have easily been taken out, a sitting duck. Nobody was there to defend them. Again, we'll discuss this more in Appendix A, but even though he might not have gotten that full buy-in, he should have at least tried. And like I just mentioned, he didn't need Emily and Ozzy if he didn't want them. He could have worked it, but he just didn't. He was not thinking in that way. And even when Rob asked him the question, it just didn't seem to even be a consideration. It never entered his mind to actually do that.
But I think we're going to talk about why he wanted Emily out so badly in Rule 6, aren't we? Isn't that what you
Probably
said?
not, because no, we'll talk about why he was wanted out so badly in Rule 6. I mean, who he wanted out at this point, he's the one who lost. So
no, right. No. Okay. But this is my point is this, is that you keep saying that he could have gone after Stephanie, but
Right.
there were real reasons why he was going after Emily. And he made that very clear, that she basically told them all, I don't care who you are to me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So there is definitely this concern that you have that, like, she is a player and she is going to cut you. She does not care who you are to her or what you mean to her, which is why he saw that moment. He saw that opportunity to, like, say, hey, Christian, she's going to take you out. It was very clear from the speech that she gave to us that she does not care about the relationship she has with you. She will still cut you and vote you out. And so there was a reason. He thought he could sell that narrative. He thought that he could do that, not realizing what it was going to turn into. So that's why I think he was just kind of like, whatever about that other option. This is what I've got to focus on. There's a story here. There's something I can work with.
Yeah. And taking out Stephanie and leaving Emily in, he probably also thinks that, Christian could be dragged to Emily's side a little bit more. You know how Ozzy wants to get rid of Angelina so he can move up the ranks in Mike White's eyes? Christian's very clearly with Emily. So if I can get rid of her, then maybe he's more tied to this David versus Goliath alliance a little bit. Maybe that's what he's going for, because he called her a cougar in the shape of a Ren Fair girl, which is a very specific type of description, but somehow I understand what he meant. But yeah, I think he was threatened by her, especially the friendship that she had with Christian. I just feel like the friendship she had with Christian is why exactly Christian won't let her go.
Right. But what did you say earlier about Ozzy going directly to Mike?
Yeah,
and
it's crazy.
saying, let's vote out Angelina. Mike did the same thing.
He did the same thing.
The same thing.
He didn't go swimming for the rest of the day,
Right.
but he definitely he pushed the issue. But I definitely think the issue, that if this is your friend, then you know that they are friends, and you would know that he would not go for this.
Right.
Not easily.
You have time. This is not the end game. This is pre-merge, for God's sake.
It was the sexy
Get rid
move.
of the easy vote. Get rid of the easy person.
You can't call him one of the greatest storytellers that we have on Survivor and then want him to do the boring move, David. And you can say the same thing about Christian. Both of them were going to look for the sexy move here every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's not an excuse.
It's not an excuse.
We're analyzing.
It's not an excuse. It's why they lost. I mean, why he lost.
Right.
We don't know what Christian gonna do, but it's why Mike White lost. I think he went for the sexy move.
Yeah. Well, we've still got more rules, so there may be other things that come into play here.
Throw the sexy move part in at the end, though. When you do your wrap up, I want that.
I'll try to
from
remember.
Chappell.
If not, I'll let you do that.
Thank you. Yeah.
So the fourth rule tells players not to let their emotions control them. And Jessica, as we've talked about, Mike was friends with everyone in the camp except two. Do you think emotions played a role?
Oh my God, he failed so badly here. I'm sorry, Mike, but you said it. I'm not going to go down for Angelina. I won't allow this to happen to my game. If her ship is sinking, I will let it sink. And then you said, wait, no, I didn't mean that. I'm going to save her. And so he absolutely let so many things fog his game trajectory. It was not just about Angelina being the target, but it was also Christian's my friend, Ozzy's my friend. And because they're my friends, then we're going to be able to make this all work and we're going to be able to play this game together. But again, this is a game for $1 million. It shifts the way people's brains work and it shifts the way that they think. And so for Mike White, he's coming into it thinking, well, this is my dream. All of the people that are friends with me outside of the game are now in my tribe. So delicious, lovely, this will be easy. That's what he thought. But that's not what ended up happening. And so I really do think in this particular situation, he, instead of those pre-game relationships helping you, it hurt him so badly, especially with Angelina. I mean, like that right there. I think if someone had said, hey, Christian's the target, he probably would have been like, well, this sucks, but I could think about it for a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as he heard it was Angelina, he was like, I need to shift
Okay.
this and I need to do it quickly. I have to move the target onto someone else. So yeah, I think that for sure this was not a great rule for him to follow. Well,
Yeah, I mean, he said in interviews he knew how much the game meant to Christian and Angelina. He didn't want to go against either of them. He's known Ozzy for longer than the other two. I mean, it's no wonder he didn't vibe as well with Emily, even aside from the threat that he believed she posed, because there were only two other people left on the tribe there. And like you said, Jessica, in some ways, we could say it was bad luck that he ended up with all his friends on the swap tribe with him.
Yes, I think it was.
It narrowed down his options so much, because under normal circumstances, a player in his situation might have been like, okay, I'm an ally of Angelina, but they really want to get rid of her, and I'm allies with them. Okay, we'll let it happen. He wasn't going to do it.
There's a reason why they were all on different tribes to start, right? CBS was very particular in how they moved people about on the various tribes and how they broke up those potential groupings. There was a couple that I was like, that's weird that they kept those two on a tribe together. However, they were all on separate tribes. It's literally the luck of a terrible draw that they then all ended up on the same tribe together.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. Now, there is another area where Mike's emotions got the better of him in this specific situation. He told Mike Bloom that, of course, he couldn't hide his friendships, which is, kind of obvious. And obviously a situation we only see in returning player seasons. But he also said that in his first season, you wait for other people to make a move and then you do the counter move or whatever. And this one, I felt like I have this relationship with these guys. I'm just going to say what I think. And so I did, which led to my demise. Now, remember I said earlier how, Sam Phelan talked about players believing they knew what caused them to lose? This appears to be it for Mike. He figured they were friends so he could speak his mind. Although he didn't speak his mind to Ozzy, so there's a little bit of a twist there. But the thing is, he forgot that while they are or were friends, they were also competitors. Or rather, he just didn't see it elevating to that level at this point in the game.
Yeah.
So he did allow his emotions to be like, I'm going to play the game differently and do something I wouldn't normally have done and just be straightforward.
I want to comment on that too, because the first time Mike White plays, he gets to the end and, I guess the when you recount the episode, you think about Mike basically sitting at the end next to Nick Wilson and being like, do I even deserve this? Right. This guy, he needs the money. He's, he makes less than me. Obviously I'm this Hollywood superstar. What are the optics and all that kind of stuff? Right. But see, that's the thing too. He was taking all those things into consideration the first time he played, because he didn't know those people. Right. So he was thinking about all those things. Here he knows these people. So he's thrown out all of those other things and he's just resting on that emotional connection that he has with them. He's not also thinking, well, Christian probably also really needs this money, right? Like he's not going to just rest on friendship. It's fair. It's easy for Mike to rest on friendship because at the end of the day, sure, he would like to win, but this isn't a life-changing event for Mike White. This is a thing that he could put on his list of accomplishments. But $1 million for a guy who just tells us in secret as a kid, you know what I'm saying? But the same, you can say the same thing about Emily Flippin. You can say the same thing about Angelina. You can probably say the same thing about Stephanie. But for Mike White, he's resting on friendships where there is an animalistic need for these people to win this game, to better their livelihood. And I think the first time he played, he probably saw that. And now he's a little bit like shrouded by the friendship of it all, to where he forgets that these people should want to play cutthroat, not because this is fun, but because this could change my life.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, the fifth rule reminds players they need to pretend to be nice and play the social game. And Chappell, it seemed to me that generally speaking, Mike excelled here, as we would pretty much expect. Did you see any problems that I didn't?
Nope, he seemed like he was doing well. Aside from this episode, we hadn't heard anybody say anything negative about Mike White. We know that he kind of comes in with a built-in pregame benefit to working with Mike White. It's what if I'm on TV, and honestly, I don't know if the contestants were saying it in the preseason because people were asking, or if they really came into the game thinking it, because it came up so much, like, oh man, Mike White, I don't know, people are going to want to vote him out. But you have to wonder if the producers were like, what do you think about Mike White being on the White Lotus, that kind of thing. So in a way, there are reasons to work with him for sure, and it's his job to maintain those people who want to naturally work with him, and I didn't see any problem with that.
Yeah. I sneaking suspicion that they all brought it up on purpose. They wanted people to be thinking about the White Lotus cameos, and because it's one more little nugget that might just make someone work differently with Mike White, make someone want to work with Mike White, because they're like, oh, maybe I'll get a White Lotus cameo if I work with Mike White. I'm certain that they were like, let's just throw that in there and see what people
throw
say.
it in the conversation.
They didn't foresee someone who already got a cameo turning on him.
Right.
That's the part you didn't think about, right?
Been there, done that. I was in the back.
He said, put me on Severance. He's moving on, baby.
That's right.
He is. There's no more White Lotus in his future.
All right. Well, the sixth rule, which we've been waiting for, warns against people being too much of a threat. And, we've had some good discussion already about the decisions that Mike made, but this is a key area that's partially related to some of them, but also where he stands out. And especially in a returning player season, this one is difficult to hide. Mike said in the pregame he was going to try to reduce his apparent threat level by pretending to just be a fun guy who didn't really do strategy. And he actually did that early on. And then afterwards, he told Mike Bloom, I did well when it was just people that I didn't know and they didn't know me. And then he continued that he obviously couldn't pull the same act with all his friends on the tribe. He, of course, thought he'd still be fine with them. But the thing is, again, it seems like such an advantage to have 3 players from your season, all of whom are friends to at least some extent outside the game. But it also makes you as a group stand out as a huge threat, which was one reason Emily and Ozzy wanted to break them up. They weren't aiming at him originally, and Ozzy never was. But attention on the group overall was one of the early dominoes that led to everything else happening.
Yeah, and this was something that was, again, you want to talk about pregame questions and press. Everyone was asked about this too. How do you feel about this group of 3 coming back from David versus Goliath? And Angelina and Christian and Mike were even asked about it as well. So it is really like that pink elephant in the room that everybody was talking about. And it's unfortunate that I think it's unfortunate to be in a situation like that. Like, I do think you're almost better to come in without that particular baggage, where it might seem nice that you do have some players that you think you understand and you think you can play with, but it does actually create a target that you didn't even ask for, because all of a sudden you're like, they don't know if we're actually friends, but apparently Mike was telling everybody they were friends. So he didn't do a good job of keeping that quiet. And when you're putting them on your TV show, it makes it that much more obvious that everybody knows that you're friends with them as well. So it is an unfortunate situation that I think perhaps for you choosing the players for 50, maybe it was a bad idea to pick 3 from one season to say, hey, we're going to put them all in this place together and see what happens. But chaos can be fun. And apparently they created some chaos and it worked out differently than most people expected it to.
Not to get too much in your business, Jessica, but if you were to play Survivor again and you get there and you see Ken and Hannah, is your natural inclination to be like, okay, we got to stick this out till we get to the merge? Or are you like, how do you approach something like this if you are put in that position? And I'm not saying like on separate tribes. I mean, like if y'all are to come together or are put on the same tribe for whatever reason.
Yeah, one half of that duo, I would be like, yes, I'm playing with that person to the end. The other half, no.
You would think you would need to get them out immediately.
Yes. Yeah.
So here's my point. I think that Mike White was making himself not a threat to most people, but I think he forgot to not make himself a threat to Christian. I think
and that is a very fair point. Yes.
Yeah.
I think that. Yes. Yeah.
It worked. Lowering your threat level around all these other people was working perfectly fine. Call himself grandpa and all these other things. I'm just a fun guy, blah, blah, blah.
You got a 6-pack happening. So there's
exactly. We see you, Mike White. Exactly. We see you. And when you go to Christian with your Machiavellian play and Christian sees it, he's like, boom, there you are. The big threat that I knew you were, So it's like he had it. for the first half. And then we got here, instead of just chilling, being a part of a 3-person alliance with an extra ally and Emily Flippin, and just letting it be Stephanie, letting it be Ozzy, even letting it be Angelina. He couldn't allow that. He had to show his fangs. And the moment he did, Christian said, and there it is. And so, I think sometimes you got to realize that just because they're your friends or you played before with them, that once they are a threat to you specifically, they don't have to stay here anymore.
Right. And they also know more about you. Right. So there's that component of it as well, because like I can say that like Ken and I are very close. And so to then have to play the game, like I know him on a personal level and he knows me on a personal level. I don't know Hannah in that same vein. I know that I played the game with her and I know things about Hannah. So it's like you would come at it from different points of view, I guess, because it depends on the relationship you had. But it does sound like Christian and Angelina both had a very close relationship with Mike White, more so probably Angelina. But I do think that he took advantage of the fact that they were friends, as opposed to we're friends, but we're also friends and they know things about me. Like they've seen Mike at his best doing his job on White Lotus. And I'm sure that is a fascinating thing to watch, right? To see someone create a show like that and to be the literally the creator of it, right? And knowing his capabilities, that I think gave Christian that much more of the information that he needed to really pull this off. Because yes, you were in, like, there it is. I see it. It's here. He's taking his outside abilities and inserting them in game, and he's taking me with him to do that. That's where, I think he did. I really do think Mike dismissed that idea of who he was in Christian and Angelina's eyes. In addition to friends, they've also seen him in work, and it changes things.
Yeah. And I mean, little did he know, Christian has been planning this for years. Like, I mean, the amount of plotting that Christian went through, like literally holding back on podcasts, never mentioning this on all the podcasts he's been on, because he wanted to keep that to himself so he could use it in the game. And then even still, talking about it in pregame, and then even still, it was kind of lying dormant until Mike tried to push the issue. And then it was like, it was like Godzilla coming up out of the water. He's under there somewhere, but suddenly there he is. And you're like, oh, that's right. A giant lizard creature lives in that water there, and I have to do something about it.
Yeah.
And so, Christian planned to steal the power of the narrative. We talked about that in the first rule. He said Mike is the most dangerous person on this or any island. And then he added later, Mike's so dangerous, he knows exactly where to twist the dagger. All he did was remind Christian specifically, hey, I'm dangerous. And again, this is something he'd been thinking about for a while. You mentioned before that he voted for Mike to win. And Christian also told Dalton Ross in the pregame, he just has a way of saying a couple words and completely changing your thinking on the matter. I had one dinner with him back in May before any of us got any calls for season 50. And he had this way of redirecting any topic that he wanted with a flip of the sentence. Basically the same thing I was saying about his post-game interviews.
His exit press,
Yeah. And maybe more importantly, Christian also said, of the two people they decide to bring back with me, it's hard to think of two who were more adversarial to me in the whole season. And then he also talked in pregame about how he realized things would have been different if he could have chosen the target at Final 12 when the Davids came together. I was mad at myself. I wore my Davids shirt last week, and I was like, well, I can't wear it 2 weeks in a row. That just wouldn't be couth as a podcaster. But if I had known, I'd have held on to it for this one because it was perfect. But he said if he had come up with the idea, he could have chosen Mike as the target. And that would have obviously had a butterfly effect on the rest of the season, because No one else at the time was saying his name except Angelina, who didn't have any credibility. And it seems like in his mind, this is the opportunity to right the wrong. You get rid of Mike now, right now. He does not have a chance to make an impact in the game later.
Well, but and not that we've had a chance to see any of this, and not that I want this to happen, but it's one of those situations, like we've said the same thing about Sari, right? Like you can't let her get her footing, because when she does, then it's a lost cause at that point. She's making it to the end. And it's probably a very similar thing with Mike, because Mike does have this way about him, just infiltrating a group and making people feel comfortable, and just being that what appears to be goofy, charismatic kind of person who then almost wins the season that he's on previously. And so, and I do think, to your point, I think, you were talking about Chappell with the Nick, where he even like pulled back because he was like, oh, well, Nick needs this more than I do. So the fact that he's still putting other people, thinking about others in that moment really shows you that his brain works in ways that you might not necessarily be thinking it would, because most people wouldn't sit in the final three and be like, well, but that person needs it more than me, so I'm gonna take a back seat for a minute here. So I do really think that it's interesting just to see how it's all like formulated and come together for him, and unfortunately not in the way that he was hoping, but
yeah. Well, Mike White's probably been sitting around really looking at his David versus Goliath game and saying, man, I didn't close that, right? Like I got to the end, but I didn't put that away. Christian has been looking at his David versus Goliath game and said, I should have voted out Mike White. Yeah. And so that's his regret, is that I didn't vote Mike White out. So when Mike White shows up to be voted out, he's like, well, I kind of got to do it, right? Like I've been thinking about this. Whereas Mike has not dwelled on that. He has not sat with that for 7 years. Right. He don't have those scars. He's never been voted out. He doesn't know how it feels. So he's like, no, we're all friends and we'll worry about that at the end. And Christian's like, I worried about you at the end last time. This time I won't do that. I'm taking you out of final 12, or something like that, and so I just don't think he just wasn't playing the same game that Christian was playing.
Right. Yeah, totally. By the way, you mentioning that it was 7 years ago is still astonishing to me.
Isn't it? Isn't it crazy?
I think of it as a recent season, like a few years ago, but yeah. Also, Mike did one thing. It was too late anyway. It didn't matter. But he didn't do himself any favors in tribal council. You mentioned, Chappell, how he focused on something Emily said at the previous tribal council. Well, then he gets to this tribal council and he talks about how his job is to persuade people and he's kind of a con artist. Right. Re-emphasize the exact points Christian was already thinking. If Christian had been wavering even a little tiny bit, I mean, you saw the looks on Christian's face as he was saying it. And I mean, at that point, the die was cast. It was too late anyway. But even if it hadn't been, that was not a good thing to say. Now, I do want to mention that Gabby, the person Mike was trying to use as a weapon against Christian, had some thoughts about why it didn't work. And she shared those on Chat BCC. She said, Mike, quote, probably tugged on the wrong heartstrings because Christian and I are besties now. Maybe he also underestimated how strong Emily and Christian's alliance was. The David versus Goliath trio have an alliance, ? Based on season, but both Mike and Angelina tried voting out Christian multiple times, LOL. So while he was trying to activate Gabby trauma, he actually activated Mike trauma. Mike used his storytelling abilities to try to take Christian out multiple times on David versus Goliath. I mean, it pretty much falls in line with what we were saying. I think Gabby, it's almost like she played. I think she has and has like a PhD and other things too. She has a very good read on the situation.
And she watched that episode with Christian. I saw the clip Davey posted of the two of them watching it, and she did not know that scene was about to become about her.
Right.
So watching her kind of be like, "Hey, look, I'm on Survivor 50." Oh no, not for this. Good times.
Yeah.
Crazy. Just crazy.
All right. Well, Rule 7 covers idols and advantages in game mechanics. And unless I'm forgetting something, he didn't have any interaction with any of those. So I don't think I have anything to say here unless either of you do.
I don't think he'd even want to, honestly. I feel like he'd be like, whatever.
Yeah. All right, then we can move to Appendix A, which discusses players keeping their end goals in mind when voting. And we talk about voting out the weak, then the strong, then the weak, then the strong. Before we move into the discussion of what happened this week, I do want to mention the conversation between Emily and Ozzy at the beginning of the episode, because they affirmed that they made the right decision in voting out Q last time, even though it could lead to more challenge losses. Emily told us, while getting rid of one of our strongest players may not work out well for us when it comes to challenges, the strength in the loyalty of the people that I'm working with is probably more important. I was like, yes, she even used the word strength in the same way I do here. It was practically a shout out to this part of the rules as far as I'm concerned. And I even mentioned last week how Q himself discussed this in an interview and summarized things well, but complained about it. So he understood it, but complained. Emily understood it and worked with it.
Yeah.
Yes, but even loyalty doesn't stop you from going to tribal councils and testing that loyalty.
Well, right. But if you test it and it works out, then you're fine.
Yeah,
Right.
but then when the numbers dwindle and there's
yes, you have
no
to
more
have enough
testing that
numbers,
can be
and
done,
so
just
far she
decisions
does.
need to be made. Yeah.
So far, she and Ozzy does. We'll see.
Yeah.
And look at Ozzy. The old Ozzy would have never said, I'm okay with going back to tribal council. This new Ozzy
Right.
said, hey,
Right.
there's strength in loyalty. I get to keep Emily flipping here. I just want Angelina out. Look at him.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
he's gonna go fishing.
And he went fishing. Dang it, Ozzy. Come on,
step
man.
forward, one step back,
He's a step and a half back. He's
yeah.
coming.
He's
Oscar's here.
getting there.
He's coming.
Now, getting to what happened this time, we are close enough to the merge that things are starting to move towards voting out the strong, at least in the eyes of the players making the decision this time. But I think I've made it pretty clear by now what my thought is on that matter, which is they should have gone with the person who had the weakest alliance within the tribe one more time. Get rid of the outlier. And that really is a question looming over this section, because it to me, it just would have made so much more sense. She came into the swap targeting Angelina. That should have been enough reason for Mike and Angelina to want her gone. And if Mike had not spent so much energy trying to turn Christian against Emily, which reminded him of the danger that Mike posed, I think Christian probably would have gone along with it. If Mike had just said, let's get rid of her. She's the outlier. It's the easy vote. You don't have to decide. Let's just do it. And more importantly, she will go along with anyone who needs her as a number. I think she switched her vote like at least 3 times in this one episode.
Yeah.
How can anyone trust that she will go with them in the future? It's like you just need to be the last person to talk to her, which you can almost never guarantee. And even more importantly, as I mentioned, we're approaching the merge. She is going to run right back to her original tribe. She will never be a long-term ally to any of these players. Getting rid of her now should have been the easiest decision ever. But when Rob asked Mike why she wasn't a target, and he just, it was one of these non-answer answers. He wanted to go after Emily specifically, like you mentioned, Chappell, because of the speech at the prior tribal council. He wanted to play a game based on finding people who would be loyal, and that clearly was not going to be Emily. But again, that doesn't really answer the question, other than to say I focused on Emily instead of the easy vote. He didn't acknowledge that it was the easy vote, because just looking at what he said, if you really want to find people who are going to be loyal, then it's not going to be her anymore. That's going to be Emily. And it just seems to me like he didn't see her at all as a threat. So therefore she could be ignored. But again, I said it earlier, he had plenty of time to worry about Emily and work on Christian rather than trying to do it right now. Get rid of the easy person. It's 24 hours between tribal councils. If you have an easy vote, my God, get rid of that person. And then you can work on the things that are going to take longer.
Yes, but we have trauma that's happening here. So
we do. We got to go to therapy first. Mike opening up this wound with Christian, it didn't allow them to get on the same page to have this conversation. You think Christian and Mike couldn't have that same exact, they could have that same moment you just had, David, where they could sit there and say, okay, You don't want Angelina to go. I don't want Emily to go. What can we do? You know,
Right.
okay,
Yeah.
well, we want to work with Ozzy. Bet. What do we look like? What do we look like voting out Stephanie? What is that? You know, what do we got to do? Do we need to leave Ozzy out of that vote because he's not going to go for it? But when Mike makes his move toward Emily, which he's probably doing, like I said, because he wants to separate Emily from Christian, he probably looks at Emily as a threat right now, you know? So he's like, all right, let's go for Emily. Christian sees the Godzilla come out the water and he's like, gotta take out the lizard. Gotta take him out first. And that pushes Stephanie so far down the pecking order. But you're right. The easy vote was right there. But we had to go to therapy first. We had to talk out these issues. And you can't just start talking about, oh, well, remember how evil Gabby was? He's like, yeah, but you were more evil. You were more evil. You know, you voted me out.
There's a lot there. It's heavy. Yes.
Well, that's why I said he never should have gotten to that point. Just bring up the easy vote and you never have to go there. You can hold on to that weapon for later when you have more time to massage and get more people and maybe not even need Christian. Maybe they make it to the merge and Mike has all these other allies because Mike has lots of friends. Yeah. And he doesn't even need Christian at that point to go against Emily.
Yeah. I'm sure he knows it's a bad move now.
Bad choice.
Yeah. On the recap, the RHAP recap, Sam Phelan said he didn't think Emily would have wanted to vote out the other woman because that would have given the trio all the power. And Mike and Angelina wouldn't want it because it gives Christian the swing vote power. So basically the same thing you said way at the top of the podcast. And yeah, that does make sense. But the problem is her willingness to go with anyone still gives that swing vote power. Even now, after Christian got her to vote the way he wanted this time, he might be able to do it again. Let's say he decided he does want to get out Emily now, and he's going to side with Angelina and her. I'm sure he could convince her to do it again. So it doesn't really help get rid of that swing vote issue.
Yeah. Well.
Trauma. Yes.
Trauma.
Trauma.
Yeah.
But anyway, once the series of decisions began and her name never came up, it turned into a debate about which strong player would go instead. And Christian was indeed the decision maker at that point. He could have gone with Mike and Angelina to vote out Emily, or gone with Emily and Ozzy to vote out Angelina, or, what he actually did, was create a new path to turn people against Mike. We spent a fair amount of time in Rule 6 discussing why Mike was such a threat. So it's clear there were good reasons for that decision. And really, when else would he have an opportunity like this? The 3-2-1, pull it off.
It's a sexy move.
Yes.
It is sexy.
And Mike is only going to become a bigger threat the further he gets in the game, the more allies he gathers. And, of course, most importantly, the thing we've been talking about, Mike was actively trying to manipulate Christian, which was a cause for Christian to get voted out last time they played.
There it is again.
Yeah. So now, to me, one difference between Mike and Emily wants to work with Christian, but keeps unintentionally doing things that could bite him.
These are not unintentional.
I think they are.
Oh, hey, do you want to know all the secrets?
It's unintentional.
Emily, don't say anything. Okay.
Mouth,
let me tell you.
Mouth is working before brain is activated. That type of unintentional.
Insane.
Whereas you have Mike, who is being very intentional. I think it is better to get rid of the person who is doing it unintentionally. And especially since Emily has been an ally since day one, and by all accounts is also a good friend outside the game. And yes, Emily did spill some of the things to Ozzy, but she did not actually spill the vote, which was what.
Well, that was because Christian got behind Ozzy.
Exactly. But that shows it was unintentional. When she was reminded, like when he was right there reminding her in her face, like, don't do this. Oh, well, then she stopped.
Well, right. But here's the other side of Emily flipping that I think is fascinating, is that it might appear that she is unintentionally doing these things, But then she sits in tribal council and talks about how basically she doesn't give a shit about who you are. If it's going to help her, if it's going to benefit her, she's going to cut you, because that's the way this game is. That's why we all signed up for it, right? Like, you basically have to be crazy to put yourself in a situation like this and be willing to do this to people that you would otherwise not want to treat this way. So there is a part of her that is very aware of what she is doing, although it appears as if she just kind of has diarrhea of the mouth and just says it but she says it with a purpose. Because if you go back to when the whole thing with the Aubrey has an idol, the whispering that was happening on the mat, she was offended that they hadn't told her. And so I'm going to go tell those people, I'm going to go tell them, right? Like, I'm going to go let them know that Aubrey has an idol, and that I just learned this information because she was frustrated with Christian. So that is not necessarily unintentional. It's very intentional, but it's more of a knee-jerk reaction, intentional. And then afterwards, you're like, shit, I probably shouldn't have said
and
that.
That's what I mean that's what I mean by unintentional, I guess. You're right. It was a knee-jerk reaction. That's the perfect word for it.
Very reactionary, like a reflex.
Yeah. Whereas Mike is thinking everything through.
Oh, he's conniving and cunning. Yes, there's
right.
a complete difference there. But I think that makes him very, very scary. But it makes Emily also scary, because you have no idea what she's going to say when. And she can completely blow up your whole game just because all of a sudden she's like frustrated or annoyed with you. And then she's going to tell someone who she shouldn't tell. And then afterwards, like, there's no backsies. You can't undo what's already been said. And so I feel like that is a very scary player to align yourself. So they're both scary for different reasons.
Right. And that's, in that situation, I would rather stick with the one who is at least somewhat handleable. If not, like, you can work with Emily. You can work on Emily. It's not always going to turn out the way you think, but you could work. Mike is not handleable because Mike thinks he's handling you.
Yeah.
No. And that's true. However, Christian clearly handled Mike, right? So if you give yourself props, and if you're Christian, and if you say, I got this, and I know that I can handle Mike because I'm onto him, I know what Mike is doing. And that, I think, gives you power to then handle Mike in a way that maybe Mike doesn't think is actually happening, right? Whereas Emily, I do think, is much more of a problem because she can't control when her mouth is going to start spewing the information you shared with her, which can negatively affect your game immediately. Whereas like Mike, it's long-term. It's like, it's in the shadows. It's lurking. You know that it's there. Mike isn't just going to blow up your spot in 2 seconds. Whereas Emily may. And so I think that there is, if you're Christian and you think that you can handle it, this is why, like, this move, it was sexy. And it was, I'm going to do this now. And I understand why he wanted to do it, because boy, he's been wanting to do it for 7 years. So how do you pass up this moment when you have this delicious opportunity? But I still think that he could have pulled it off later if he had said, no, I know, I see what's happening. And I can actually use this to my benefit. Like, he wants to play my emotions. Okay, we can play that game because I know what he's doing. But he wanted to make a move now, and he did. And he is satisfied that that itch that he's had for so long.
No more trauma.
Yeah.
He's got to fight with Angelina for the rest. He got to fight with Angelina for the rest of the season. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Oh my God.
I'm sure it'll be
fine. That is going to be his trauma.
What?
Not to get into our predictions. I don't think that.
I don't think that'll last. No, her ship is still sinking. Yes.
But I think you're right. He did handle Mike this time. He handled Mike on his way to the Survivor grave. I don't know that he could have handled Mike. I don't know how long you can fool Mike for.
Oh, and I'm certain that was a huge concern, because if you have the opportunity, and again, game for $1 million, you take your shot when you can take it, because we've seen it more often than not, where people say, oh, we can vote them out next time. We can vote them out next time. And we see it all the time. And then that person keeps moving along in the game. They keep getting closer and closer to the end. And everybody keeps saying, we'll get them next time. It's fine. That's the easy vote. That's the vote everyone's going to agree on. And then that person sitting in the final 3, and you're like, what happened?
Yeah.
Nobody pulled the trigger.
Right. I do want to at least address the question of should he have just voted out Angelina? It would have been easy in the moment because he wouldn't have had to lie to Ozzy. Christian wouldn't have had to, but then he would have had to deal with an angry Mike White instead. I just, there would have been no point. Basically, I'm only bringing it up to say there would have been no point in doing it. If you're going to turn on the David versus Goliath alliance, go for the head. Don't chop off the tail.
Yeah,
fair.
I'm very shocked that he didn't just vote out Emily. Like, to me, like I hear what both of y'all are saying for sure, because it's like Mike White, you know he can move the hearts and minds of people. He does it professionally, and he talks about it in tribal council. And then Emily is a mercenary. She's just out there for for herself. So both of them are dangerous. But what you're not about to do is blow up my plan twice in a row. Like the idol thing with Aubrey, she could have just come to him. They were on the same beach.
Oh yeah.
You know,
I know.
So that alone, right? That alone, I was like, she gotta go. And then to now do this again, I'm like, all right, you have twice you have foiled my plan.
Yeah,
like that, and you keep coming back to me. So just off of that, I guess I don't even want to call it petty because I think that's actually a decent reason. Someone keeps betraying your trust, you vote them out. So I think for me, I was shocked that it wasn't just, you know what? Honestly, I got this 3-person alliance. We can mend this fence with Ozzy later on. What's he going to do? What are him and Stephanie going to do? We're just going to take this and vote out Emily. Instead, what Christian does is the nuclear option. He pisses off Ozzy, pisses off Angelina. Stephanie's still a mercenary. And now all he has is really Emily flipping.
I mean, you say you want to vote out the person who blows up your plan. How many blowing up plans is equal to blowing up your entire game?
Right. Yeah.
You know?
And which plan will be the one that broke the camel's back? You know, like the next plan could be the last plan, you know?
But he already knows about the person who blew up his entire game. And that was Mike. So he knows the power there.
That's what I'm saying. It's
trauma.
He knows the power there. I think that just outweighs yes, she did it, but she apologized and she didn't quite blow up the second time because I caught her. So
maybe Mike apologized for all the stuff he did to him on David versus Goliath. Right. We don't know.
He can't heal without voting out Mike White. He got to heal. You got that's what I said. This was therapy. Right. He voted him out for his peace. Now he can sleep at night. He ain't worried about Emily. He can sleep at night now knowing Mike White not there trying to get him out again. That's all you need. Peace of mind.
That's right. All right. Well, it is about time to wrap things up on Mike. So, Chappell, what are your final thoughts on him?
He wanted the sexy move. He wanted the sexy move. I love Mike White. I've been a very loud defender of Mike White's game for David versus Goliath. I've said since the day I could speak about it that Mike White was robbed the first time. He played an incredible game. And I think a lot of his skills were at play here. You know, he has a huge target on his back being that he is Mike White. But the things we saw him doing, we actually saw him doing the things he said he was going to do, lowering his threat level, the way he talked about himself, the way he played the game, but also knowing that he's lying. He's lying. He's not oh, I'm just an old guy who just wants to have fun. He's not. Because why do you have abs, Mike White? Really? Why do you have abs? You just getting abs for fun. Okay, fine. The man came out here to play the game and he was doing a good job and it just didn't work out. He tried to manipulate somebody who has been waiting on him to try to manipulate him. He came beating on the door of somebody who was standing outside with a gun. And that sucks. Sometimes it works, right? For a less talented player than Christian, maybe you don't suffer this fate. But for somebody who has been waiting for 7 years to reconcile their feelings for the game that the thing that they should have did in the game they played with you last time, he just kind of hit a wall. So I'm sad to see Mike White go.
Yes, very sad. And I do think that there's a special place in this world for survivor-induced trauma, which we have addressed much of it in this podcast. It doesn't leave. It sits and festers. And if you have an opportunity to revisit that person on an island again, I think it's really hard to just tuck that away and not focus all of your energy and attention on it, especially when it gets brought up and used against you in the way that Mike White was trying to do it. So it's really, really hard to fault him for wanting to really fix that unresolved issue that he had that had been festering for 7 years. And I think it's fascinating that Mike White said in his pregame press, I just think that our mission here is to create an exciting season. And I feel like that's what I want to do. I want to win, but I also feel like winning is my version of winning would be to keep it exciting and then still somehow win it. But keeping it exciting means maybe keeping players in who are to others a huge threat and somebody that you definitely want to take out. I feel like it'd be fun to sit with Cirie and Ozzy at the end. So that feels like maybe a different strategy than maybe some other people might have, which I think is fascinating that was the mindset that he was going into season 50 with. He wasn't about to play a simple game. He wanted to play an exciting game. He wanted it to be fun
Sexy.
for viewers. Sexy, exactly. He wanted to make a show, but he did want to win. But he also wanted to win against people that most others wouldn't want to sit next to, because what does that then elevate you to? Legendary status, right? And this is Mike White, who did come with abs. He was ready to play season 50. And I think we saw a different version of Mike this time. Mike wants to be the sole survivor. He wants that title, but he also wants to be in the Mike White way. And that's what Mike White does. He writes television shows and movies, and he creates stories, and he creates drama, and he creates feelings. And that's what he was wanting to do. Unfortunately, this isn't White Lotus. You don't have the ending all worked out before you get there. You know, there's no script and there's no cameos. It's real life. It's real people who unfortunately are all fighting for $1 million, and some have trauma. And you ended up on a tribe with someone who you had helped create some long-term issues for. So unfortunately, in the end, Mike, we don't get to see you anymore. However, congratulations on writing the next season of White Lotus while you were on sabbatical for 3 weeks. That's pretty awesome that you got to do that when nobody knew where you were. So you'll be fine, Mike, in this world. Of course you will be, because you are Mike White and you do great things. Unfortunately, we find ourselves talking about you sooner than we had expected, but it was great to watch for sure.
Yeah. Well, Christian said in the pregame that he wanted to steal Mike White's narrative powers, and he did. In fact, Mike tried to use those powers against him to get him to flip on a close ally. Instead, Christian deflected that attack and turned it around on him. He came in ready for Mike, which blunted Mike's power over him. Even when his shot about Gabby seemed to hit home emotionally, Christian recalled who the true danger to his game was. We need to remember, as Christian did, that Mike made it to the end his first time. He could have probably won if he hadn't backed off in that final tribal council speech. He was as big a threat as anyone here, and nobody knew that better than Christian. But in case he'd forgotten, even a little bit, Mike reminded him by trying to push too hard too soon. There was another player ripe for the picking off, just sitting there. And really, just sitting there seems to describe her game so far. She had no allies on this tribe, but did have them on her original tribe and will undoubtedly go back to them at the merge. She had no loyalty to Mike or anyone else here, as shown by the way she so easily moved from vote to vote this week. If Mike had simply targeted her as the easy vote, not the sexy vote, I will admit, but the easy vote, none of this would have happened. But when Emily and Ozzy came for Angelina, he overreacted. He thought he could rely on his friendship with Christian, and what he believed was his knowledge of Christian's psyche. He had no idea what had been bubbling away in Christian's brain for all these years. But again, all of that could still have been avoided, at least for now. In the pregame, Mike told Mike Bloom, "I definitely feel like it would be a great story if he somehow got his revenge on me." Mike, you got your story. So it was somewhat surprising to find out he and Christian haven't talked since then. I have to say, if someone asked me before the season began to pick people who came away with hurt feelings and bitterness extending beyond the game, I would not have gone with Mike and Christian. But Mike's pregame relationships with both Angelina and Christian helped lead to him getting voted out. He had said he couldn't be responsible for Angelina's game, and if she blew it up, he wasn't going to go down with the ship. Yet, trying to save that ship was what caused him to convince Christian to get on board. And he trusted Christian enough that he never saw it coming, even though that trust was combined with a large helping of attempted control. I mentioned earlier that Mike had said in an interview, "I felt like I have this relationship with these guys. I'm just going to say what I think." And so I did, which led to my demise. Is that actually what led to him being voted out? Partially. He obviously shouldn't have told Christian that. But more importantly than that, he shouldn't have made that decision to begin with. And that is why Mike lost.
Drama.
Sounds good. Man, that's tough. Can you really be friends with somebody who's been pining on voting you out for 7 years, Jess?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think that friendship was bound to fall apart at some point.
Yeah, I mean, it really is like Christian has. It's like I hate to say this, but it's like he's created his own character for his own movie, where it's like the person who is like the villain who is just waiting for the moment to strike and is waiting years to do so. Like, he had no idea that they were ever going to play this game together again. And then all of a sudden it's like, here it is. Here's your moment. It's very scary. As I said at the beginning of this, I think it's a little scary that he's been like laying awake at night in his bed, just imagining what it would feel like to take out Mike White, and then did.
Well, we know how you got voted out of Survivor, but what do you have a thing that you still sit back and say, like, if that did this one thing different?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So you think you would have maybe a similar trajectory if you were to play again? Like, it would be that one, like, because we see, we haven't talked about them at all because they don't matter, but we see Charlie and Rizzo, right? And Charlie's thing is like, I'll be damned if I let somebody else do, like, if I let another Maria fester, right? You have a thing that sticks in your craw. Is it just the rocks?
Well, it's actually associated to it. So going into that tribal council, I mean, there were so many conversations that it had, and there were so many things happening. And at one point during the tribal council, like, people were threatening to, like, everyone dump out your bags because we wanted to know who had what. And I was like panicking because I had the legacy. And I was like, oh my God, I don't want anybody to know that I have that. And what I should have said, and this was before people got out of their seats. I just want everybody, like, this, that started the next. Yeah. So, like, you did not move, and you didn't think you could, like, that you had assigned seats and you had to sit there. And Will was all the way at the opposite end, and I was sitting at the opposite end of Will. And I had Jay in my ear, just like, just vote, just flip on, it doesn't matter. Just vote her out. And I was like, what? Like, so there's a lot of things happening. Regardless, what I wish I had done was been like, hey, I need to talk to Will, and I need to go find out what Will is doing, because I have this legacy that I could give him right now if he's willing to flip and vote out Zeke, and that could have changed everything. But my head was not, that was not where my head was on in that moment. There were so many things going on that I never even, like, thought to myself, oh, wait, I can do that right now. Like, I can try to change things right now. So that's what I go back to all the time.
So next time you're getting up at the first tribal council, you're like,
oh,
yeah, I got something to say.
Excuse my language. I just said that out loud. But yes, I am. I am not sitting. Forget all that stuff. When you play the first time, you are so afraid of everything that production tells you. And I was getting in trouble a lot because I was doing things like I wasn't supposed to do. And so, it's one of those things where you're like, all right, I'm going to push here, but I'm not going to push there. I'm pushing everywhere next time that happens. Yeah.
Cool.
Excuse my language. I'm so sorry if I offended anyone.
No, I always do this. Every time we do come on Wags, I'm always like, now, Jess, tell me about your trauma. So, it's like, how often do you get to ask a Survivor player? Yeah, how often do you get to ask a Survivor player about these kind of things? I'm always like, yeah, so tell me more.
Yeah, I don't mind you asking. There's definitely Survivor trauma. That is a real thing. Yes.
Yeah.
And then I'm not in the game. Come on, Jeff. Put me in the goddamn game. All right.
Put in the game.
Right.
The Rocks game. Come on.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right.
Enough
well,
about
put
me.
in the regular
we have to
game
do predictions, right?
Well, before we get to our predictions, I do want to mention that next week we will have a new special guest as Stephen Ram from last season joins us.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, he binge listened to our podcast to prepare for going out there. So so that'll be fun to have him on this end of the podcast. Also want to remind everyone, of course, in case you've forgotten it during this hour and a half that we've talked, that you can, of course, get the rules that we just discussed in poster form, or in poster on a t-shirt form, or in checklist as a t-shirt form. So you can go to robhasawebsite.com/yxlostfeed for any of or all of those. Now, Chappell, I know you're very difficult to find, but where can people reach you and find you and listen to you and everything else?
Well, first, thank y'all again for having me. I always enjoy being included in the YX Lost Rolodex of people who get to come here and talk about the rules. If you want to follow me on social media at RHAP Kickback, that's my podcast. That's what it's called, but I'm on all social media platforms at RHAP Kickback. You can check out my YouTube page, youtube.com/@RHAPKickback. I'm talking about some things. I did a breakdown of Vesepia's game of Survivor a couple weeks ago, so that's up. There's some visuals in there. I was in my editing bag, but
Nice.
Did you know who
Yeah.
helped her get her torch?
Oh, who? Oh, you do know something about Survivor.
I do.
How did you do that?
It was back when I was running my website, and someone reached out to me and said, I won her torch in the auction. Do you know how I can get in touch with her to give it to her? So I reached out to my CBS contact, and they worked it out there. So
that's incredible.
Yeah, that's probably one of the few things she has from that season. It's not like they pay a lot of homage to Marquesas. But yeah, if you want to hear our breakdown of that game, you can just follow my YouTube channel, youtube.com/@RHAPKickback. But yeah, thank y'all again for having me.
Nice.
We still have more to talk about. You can't run away.
I gotta make I make prediction. But that's it.
Oh, and should I talk about where you can find me? I'm at JessicaLewis89 on both Blue Sky and Twitter, and at JessicaLewis6789 on Instagram. However, my social media platform is nothing compared to the man who sits next to me. David Bloomberg has taken over the social media scene on so many platforms. He has
everywhere.
A link tree. He literally is. He's everywhere. The guy who didn't want to do video podcasting is now making so many videos of himself talking about everything you can imagine. So here's his link tree. So David Bloomberg, why don't you tell them where they can find you?
Yes, you can find that at linktree/David Bloomberg, or you can find me directly on Blue Sky at David Bloomberg. And on video sites, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, I am at David Bloomberg TV. I have been continuing to post 2 or 3 reality TV short videos every day. I say reality TV right now, it's almost all, if not all, Survivor 50 at this point. Who knows? Maybe I'll post something about House of Villains or the new Jury Duty that just came out. So
there's a new one. Oh God.
Yes, Jury Duty Company Retreat, I believe.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I've only watched like the first 15 minutes of it so far because I was preparing for this podcast. But also, I will be recording a couple special episodes of the Tradar podcast soon. We will be talking about advice for how to win as a trader, and then another episode on how to win if you're faithful. These are not a new version of my rules. Don't get it that way, but there will be some overlap. You're going to hear some of the same things that you hear for my rules, but this is with the Tradar host and another frequent co-host, and we'll be recording those, in the next few days. They should be popping up in the Tradar feed. That's TRAIDAR. So, with that, we move to predictions. And next week, we are finally getting the double tribal council we expected. Now, I would swear I heard Rob speculate on one of the podcasts, I think the one with Tina, that it could be 2 tribes in a single tribal council. I hate to disagree with the boss, but I highly doubt that. We need to start cutting people. They are not going to have a double tribal and not cut 2 people at this point.
That would make me so angry.
Maybe they'll have a double tribal, but 2 people are going. Like maybe they put everybody together. And 2 people.
That's more of an Australian Survivor type of.
Do you watch Australian Survivor? They do that a lot.
I love that idea. I've seen parts of it. I don't watch it as much as I should because I feel like it's more in line with what I prefer about Survivor at this point.
David's not wrong. Like I think, even recently that we've had votes where it's like, okay, whoever gets the most votes out of those 2 people who get the most votes will both go. And so that would be very Australian Survivor. I don't know if US got it in them.
I don't think Jeff has that.
I would love it if they did.
Also, we haven't even seen one of these tribes vote yet. So why not have them vote singly as a unit, just as an individual tribe? And they don't have a country singer to bring in and fill up part of the time, so they need 2 tribal councils
part of the time. A lot of the time.
Yes. Now So there is one tribe that will obviously be going, and that is Vatu.
Yes.
I just don't even think there's any debate on that.
No.
I think the other tribe going will be Kalo. Though after Kalo won the last challenge, it's not as quite as clear as I otherwise would have thought it would be. But that is my prediction for the two tribes as far as that goes. Let me start with Vatu because we've already spent all this time discussing them, and I don't think any of us disagree with this, with that. I think we will start the episode with Ozzy complaining that nobody told him what was happening when he was off fishing instead of joining in the strategic conversations. And then Emily will calm him down, and he'll still be mad, but he'll be at like a lower simmer instead of an all-out boil. But what will make him happier is Emily and Christian will promise him to vote out Angelina this time. No, we really mean it this time, honestly, Ozzy.
This time.
And nobody on the tribe has any reason to keep her anymore. Nobody.
Right.
The other woman wanted her out from the start. Christian doesn't want to hear it from Angelina about Mike. And Emily and Ozzy wanted her gone from the beginning too. So but
Emily was hugging Angelina and was excited to work with her. Remember that?
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, but
saying she was.
Yeah. I mentioned earlier that Mike Shipp was
and then she's going to tell Angelina, we're voting you out because I can't keep a secret.
Well, Mike Shipp was sunk, but Angelina's was still sailing. I do not expect that ship to still be above water by the end of next week.
Wouldn't it be fascinating if she plays a shot in the dark? And
they finally mentioned it for the first time all season. Someone's like, hey, what about that shot in the dark? I said, oh, y'all are doing that in 50? I didn't know. No one been saying anything about it.
Right.
Is there a world where Angelina, Stephanie, and Ozzy could come together and be like, well, screw Christian and Emily. They left us out of this thing. Why are we at the bottom? Why don't we take control?
I mean, there's a world, but I can't see Ozzy doing that. I think
he's pissed off by everybody. It's not like he has a tight ally anymore. He could go anywhere. I feel like Ozzy should be more self-interested. I feel like if I'm Ozzy, I'm going to the highest bidder. Yeah, I feel like he should be more self-interested. I think he should go to the highest bidder. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's Christian. Christian just burned you. He could have told you about this. He didn't. You probably wouldn't have liked it,
right?
But he could have told you about this.
What about Emily, who made the promise to him? If anybody, that's
what I'm saying. He's not loyal to any of them. Vote out Ozzy.
I just think he'll go back to them anyway.
I think he's got to go somewhere.
Yeah, he's got to go somewhere. And it's hard to go from wanting Angelina out so badly to saying, okay, now I'll work with her.
Yeah. I think Emily's going to manage him and make him feel better. And then be like, we'll get her out this time. I promise. This time.
Yeah. Ozzy, love yourself. King, get out of this. This is an abusive relationship. When you get to the merge, go with the honor and integrity people and Suri. You don't need these people anymore. They don't love you. Yeah.
He'll go
I agree.
Right back to Suri.
He run fast.
Yes.
Yes, very fast.
Yes. Now, as for the Kalo tribe, here's what I'm thinking. Well, first of all, it's more complicated. I foresee one of two things happening, but both of them end up at the same point.
Okay.
Either Genevieve isn't in as great a spot as she believes, and all of that immediate scheming at the beginning of the swap will have actually made people suspicious of her. But we just don't know that yet because we haven't heard from them. Or Genevieve really does have them on her side, and they will try to vote off Aubrey. But of course, Aubrey has an idol. Aubrey has said she's not afraid to use it. Aubrey knows she's in a bad spot. The real question is whether Genevieve believes that she has it, as Q has indicated in his post-game interviews, or if she no longer thinks so. If she does believe Aubrey has it, she will need a backup target. And this is where what I mentioned about Tiffany, I think I mentioned it in the podcast. I can't remember if I mentioned it. Maybe I mentioned it beforehand. That as far as we know, she doesn't realize Tiffany is against her. So who would they make the backup? I'm not sure. I also don't know that it matters because if they think Aubrey has nobody, they might just throw one vote somewhere. Just, okay, we can tie it up and it won't matter. But then, of course, Aubrey has at least 2 votes. And So this is what I think will happen. I think they will either not split or they will split poorly somehow. Aubrey and Tiffany will vote for Genevieve. Aubrey will use her idol. Genevieve is gone. One way or the other, I think Genevieve is gone by the end of next episode.
I agree with that as well. Unfortunately, but I do.
Yeah, it doesn't look great because we know Genevieve seemingly is singularly focused on Aubrey, who we know has an idol, right? And so it's like you got to vote for Aubrey in some capacity because you need her to play the thing. She can't just walk around with it forever. So you need to either try to vote her out with it.
Then you'd have to call her Rizzo.
Right. Well, he got one. He got one handed to him. Thanks, Genevieve.
Thing.
Right. Yeah. Right. And so, yeah, it'd be hard to see Aubrey going. I don't know if they can find another viable option outside of Genevieve. Like, you know, like we don't, like you said, we don't really know where Tiffany stands. But if she is like on the bottom of whatever that other alliance is, then yeah, they could very easily do a split. But I guess if I had to predict something, yeah, it's looking like it's gonna be Genevieve for sure.
Yeah.
What happens in a world where, let's say Genevieve does get voted out, and then eventually Rizzo gets voted out, and then that idol, he doesn't play his idol, like it's supposed to go back to the person who gave it. So does it just go back into the game?
Or does it ever go back into the game? Like, does it come back as another Billie Eilish, or is it a real fresh idol? You know, at that point,
I think they tend to go with normal idols once you get to that point. Once it goes back to the game, like the new era, most if not all of the new era, I think, like even when you used a beware advantage, you know, to get an idol, once that idol was used, I think it circled back in as a regular idol.
Are there any regular idols in the game?
Now, no, just the
we're just in the Billie Eilish era now. Like all the idols you got to give to somebody else.
Yes.
Okay.
And this Genevieve's found two idols, and she doesn't have any.
They replaced Beware with Billie Eilish. You know.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. You know, I'm just kind of like, I'm waiting on it to pay some dividends, I guess. I mean, if it works out for Aubrey, it'll be because Genevieve found an idol that she can't use.
Yeah. Two idols she can't use. That's the hysterical part. It's
that's
found
awful.
two, have zero.
That's awful.
So you're going with the Genevieve idea also?
I'm gonna make because I mean the alternative is probably, to me, the alternative is Tiffany. And don't get me wrong, Black people historically don't do great at the split tribal councils. You know, they split. They send both tribes of tribal council. We losing one of y'all. And so maybe history points to it being Tiffany, but I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed and say, you know, maybe I don't know. I don't even really want Genevieve to go. I like the conflict in the tribe. You know, you know, respectfully, send Kobe out.
I'm not saying I want it. I'm just saying what I'm predicting. I'm
going to predict Kobe goes. I don't know how, but I'd much rather have Genevieve and Aubrey there fighting, as opposed to losing one of them. You know, like, all right, Kobe, you can go. You know,
I love it.
Yeah. All right.
Fine.
All right.
Listen,
well,
anybody but Sari. I don't care. Like, you know what I'm saying? Send the Green Tribe. Sure. Whatever. I don't care.
Yeah. All right. Well, as we wrap up, I want to encourage people to check out the RHAP patron program at robhasawebsite.com/patron. You can get access to all the special podcasts that are put out just for patrons. Like, can you think of any, Chappell, off the top of your head, any podcasts that are just for patrons that people should be sure to check out?
Yeah, check out the Zac Brown podcast behind the paywall on RHAP. No, we have Club Gondo. Club Gondo. It's where I get to make stupid jokes like that. Behind the paywall, obviously. I don't know why Rob won't let y'all have it for free, but you gotta pay. You gotta pay to play. And so it's back there. Yeah, check it out.
It's worth it. And it's worth it for that. And then there's all the other things too. You've got the Facebook groups, the Discord, and of course, you just support shows like ours and everything on the network. So again, robhasawebsite.com/patron. Also, make sure you're subscribed to all of the RHAP Survivor podcasts at weknowsurvivor.com, where you can see all the different shows, including ours, and, you know, pick your podcast service of choice.
So thank you very much for not only watching us, but we'd like to thank everyone at RHAP as well for all of the incredible work that you do, not just for all of the content that you provide, but that you make things like this available to the viewing audience. It's really quite lovely, all of the work that you do. Thank you to Scott St. Pierre for the editing that you lead the charge on. Thank you to everyone who is involved in the editing, not just for Why Blank Lost, but for all of that amazing content. And thank you to Will from America for the theme song that was created for the audio version of this podcast. It is lovely and delicious and very catchy. And thank you to Chappell for joining us. This was super fun. As always, you always bring such great insight and fun and just an awesome time. So thank you so much for the Chappell moment that we got to have at the beginning of this podcast. It was all about you. It really was, as it should be, because
As it should be.
Right. I mean, it's Why Blank Lost, but Chappell was here, so it's about Chappell.
That's right.
It's like a
That's
donut
right.
podcast, you know, on the outside Chappelle and in the middle, not much. Is it donut, right?
Yes.
That's what we call it. Donut?
Yeah. Yes, let me echo that. Thank you very much, Chappell. Thank you for bringing your sexy moves, and always fun when you can join us here. Thank you, Jessica, and as always fun anytime. So we will see everyone in a week. Next time, as I mentioned, we will have Steven on from last season. We will, like I said, see you then. Or you can find us on social media before then. Bye.
Bye.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.